Salut YouTube! So today I have a special guest with me, my friend Isabel. Where are you coming from?
Austria!
Austria! So we're here today because we've got some stories to share about our culture shocks when it comes to working in France.
Yes.
So between us, we've been working in France for how many years?
So 3 years for me and
4 years for me.
okay, well, 7 years. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
So some things have become sort of normal now and others less so.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to talk to you about big culture shocks that we had in the French workplace. And of course we're talking about the kind of corporate business world because that's all that we know. But the kind of things that happen in meetings, the kind of things that happen when your boss is giving you performance feedback and these kinds of stories. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
As Rosie mentioned, meetings is like a big topic when you come working in France. It's definitely a big part of the French culture and how to work in corporations here. It's completely different to what I've experienced in Austria and in other countries, and let's say more the Anglo-Saxon way. Meetings are very different, so it's a big exchange, let's say, of ideas. It's not like an agenda where you stick to, where you say, okay, I'm gonna do this is the outcome, like super kind of tangible thing. But it's much more about, okay, so let's challenge this idea, let's talk about it, like re-talk about it.
French love of discussion and debate and challenging each other intellectually. And when you first arrive, you're kind of there like, what is happening?
Exactly.
Like, are we ever going to talk about what we're meant to be here for? Firstly, I find that you have a lot of meetings. Secondly, they often run late or start late and run late.
Yes.
So that's also another point. France is a time flexible culture, which means that they aren't as uptight about timing as in other cultures. I'm not sure how it is in Austria, if it's more the German way. Like
It's definitely the German way.
Definitely the German way, want to be on time. It's not like that here, so don't feel disrespected if you turn up to a meeting on time and no one's there, and or if you've called a meeting and everyone walks in 10 minutes late. It's nothing against you. And then when you're actually in the meeting itself, you're going to be trying to sort of converge the crowd and get them to talk about specific points and try and get them to stay on track, and it's just not going to happen.
As you already said, it's like, don't take it personally. So I remember myself, so when I started working here, I saw some exchanges of French people about an idea, and I was like, wow, why are they fighting? Why are they hating each other?
They hate each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now afterwards I understand it has nothing, it's not at all personal. It's really about challenging the idea, having an exchange. It can be a bit even emotional or kind of like rough. And then afterwards they'll be like, okay, let's go to lunch. And I'm like, okay,
exactly. Yeah, they'll
So-
really be there like, I don't like that idea, I do not agree, I don't understand where you got your numbers from.
Exactly.
And then they'll be like, walking out the door, so how are the kids? Like, you see two different faces. You've got the personal side and the professional side, and the professional side, it's business only, don't take it personally. Don't be surprised if the meeting doesn't seem to have a natural end. What they say for Americans is that it's a good meeting if a decision has been made in the meeting. For French, it's a good meeting if ideas have been discussed. So you might find at the end of the meeting, it just ends with, et voilà. And
Okay.
yeah,
What's that supposed to mean?
yeah, exactly. Like no action points, no to-do lists, no delegation of responsibilities. Everyone's just meant to know.
So speaking of meetings, actually, so it actually relates directly to our next point, which is feedback. Although you wouldn't imagine it for the French, personally, it can be quite direct, it can be quite, like, say, rough. So for example, the feedback you would get, like, you would never get, okay, wow, that was really good, was excellent, it was something that I'm surprised, so innovative. You're gonna get, pas mal.
C'est pas mal ça.
Pas mal. But which means actually translated, it's like really good,
Yeah, that's true, I think, because the French have sort of grown up in this French education system, which is quite harsh. How it works is that you get graded out of 20, but no one gets 20 out of 20. Like it's literally impossible, and almost no one gets 18 or 19 either. Like it's never perfect. It can always be better, and that definitely translates into the workplace as well. So you'll prepare and deliver something what you think is very well done, very solid. There'll always be things that you can improve upon, and that goes for your performance in general.
There's obviously always a downside and like upsides and downsides of different things, and I saw that although it's not the most rewarding kind of, let's say, culture, in the sense that it will say, okay, pas mal, and you will be like, okay, wow, is that really, was it really that bad?
Yeah.
At the same time, there's this culture of excellence that makes France so great also, you know, you have products and things like, I mean, look at the patisserie here, like everything is like tiny and perfect and like, ooh, wow.
If they weren't constantly striving to be better and be more excellent, I mean, we wouldn't have the booming French luxury industry, the perfumes, the patisseries, so there's definitely good sides and bad. So on one hand, if you feel a bit deflated, like, oh, it's never good enough, I can never deliver something that they're happy with. On the other hand, you deliver things that you didn't even know were possible. Like that you push yourself to be the best professional you can be as well.
Yeah, another point that was quite surprising for me, I think for us, was that in France the separation of like professional life and personal life is quite strong.
Yeah.
So you would not necessarily share many things from your personal life at work. I was never invited, for example, to a colleague's house. That's like super exactly. It's like
you
private.
meet a neutral ground.
Exactly. I mean, unless like for interns, maybe it works like for very young people. But every colleague that said it's not like 20, it doesn't work at all, and that's kind of surprising, especially if you're new here and you're like, oh, it would be nice to go to a French house.
Exactly. So, I'm kind of used to like meeting a lot of people and meeting friends and building friendships at work, and here it's so different. I mean, there's definitely a line between your personal and professional life, because, you know, to be able to establish a friendship, you kind of need to share things about your boyfriend, about, you know, like things that you're interested in. You know, you've got to keep the conversation very neutral. People don't really have photos of their family and their children up on their desk, which is something that people have everywhere in New Zealand. Well, I mean, when I first arrived, I was dying to know if my French manager, I don't know, was married, had children. I don't know, she was at the age where she could have had children. So I was curious to get to know her, but I didn't dare ask. I mean, you just don't, you can feel that it wouldn't be appropriate to ask. And, you know, finally I found out maybe 3-4 months into working with her that kind of information. It's not something that they share up front, which is totally fine, but it does mean that, you know, you've got to be careful about what you talk about, definitely, and you've got to be careful what you ask people, and you also can't expect to make best friends forever straight away at work. It's just not going to work like that.
Exactly. And lastly, what's really important, what we feel is really important in France too, in the workplace, is the relationship. Let's say it's a very relationship-based culture. So you will see lunch breaks, coffee breaks, smoke breaks, if you do smoke, are super important. So in Austria, actually, how we do it is we come to work. Obviously, we also like coffee and food. It's not that we didn't, but it's still, you know, we come to work, we do our time, we have half an hour lunch break, and then we continue. And here, like easily, I can have 1.5 hour lunch breaks. You know, it's really about getting to know the other person if you don't know them, or spending like a really nice amount of time with the person you know, connecting on various issues, learning what they do and so on, and really creating this kind of network that's super important here.
That was a big shock for me. Like, your lunch break is work, actually, because you're investing time into a colleague, and that's key here, because you can only get things done through your network, through your relationships. In France, it's the kind of culture where if they don't know you, they may not respond to your email. Or if you're not introduced by your manager, by someone that they know, they may not reply, because knowing each other and that one-to-one connection is so important, and you just can't get your job done without it. I think sometimes it can be a little bit depressing, because you just want to get in, put your head down, do a good job, and you think that that will open all the doors, but it doesn't work like that here. You need to do the networking relationship thing. It's very human-based, the workplace here.
Definitely.
Alright, cool guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. The culture shocks about the French workplace, there are actually a lot more where that came from. So if you'd like to see a part 2, if you'd like us to explore some other ones, please let me know down in the comments. I must say that overall I very much enjoy working in France. It's definitely stretched me in ways that I haven't even been able to imagine, and I definitely think that the stereotype that French people are lazy is super unfounded. Very hard workers, and I've got lots of amazing colleagues around me, so overall a super positive experience. But anyway, we'll leave the video here for this time, and we'll see you in the next one. A bientôt!
Auf Wiedersehen!